The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum. Bum, bum. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the DataView Show. I'm Scott Hayes, lifetime IBM champion, IBM Db2 Gold consultant, and fortunately your host for this show. This is episode number 11. We're supposed to be talking about cloud, getting started, and making your business agile. Our guest is supposed to be Simon Lightstone. He's a managing partner at Levian Partners. Simon is formerly with IBM, knows a lot about the IBM Cloud and other clouds, and I was very much looking forward to his presentation today. Unfortunately, he's not here yet, and I should be able to click on him and make him the presenter, but he's not here yet. So I'm going to start with the regular show stuff, and we'll give him a couple of minutes and see if he arrives late. I hate it when people are late, but some people get, traffic, meetings, stuff like that. Maybe he'll show up. We're going to start and see where this goes. So that's the introduction on Simon. This hasn't happened in a while. Required Gibberish. The opinions expressed are that of Scott Hayes and the show guests, and do not necessarily reflect that of IBM Corporation or the IBM community. Db2 is a registered trademark of IBM, which is also a registered trademark. We make no claims to any marks belonging to anyone. The event is being recorded, and replays will be publicly available. Mind your manners. I have an incoming call. Had an incoming call. Maybe it was...
Hi there, can you hear me?
Oh, fortunately,
Hi, Scott.
you've just arrived. I was telling people, oh my gosh, we're starting the show and we don't have a guest yet. But I can hear you
Oh, well,
now.
sorry, I'm right here. Yeah, I had a few issues getting the GoTo app going on my Mac, but we are ready to rock and roll.
Hey, that's really great news. Earlier this morning, my brand new Ford 2020 Explorer broke down, and somehow I made it here today. What a morning, man. You having Mac issues and me having car issues? All right. So we were just here, and I was introducing how awesome you are. I said that you were formerly with IBM and now doing things that are more fun. Tell us about you a little bit, Simon.
Sure. So first of all, I don't know what's more fun. IBM was a lot of fun. Definitely I missed working there and all the people there. But basically decided to go off on my own with a friend of mine. We started something called the Search Fund, which for those who don't know what it is, and very few people do, even few investors do, it's where we go out together with some very large private equity firms, and we buy an existing healthy business. So that's what we're up to. And the idea is that you take a business. Often you have a company which was founded maybe 15 years ago, and there's a lot of people who own it who are retiring, whoever's on the board there, and then you'll buy them out and then you'll just run the company. So that's what I've been working on together with my partner Elvin, and we're very excited about that. And we're actually looking for investors. So if ever somebody was interested in investing in such a thing, then by all means, feel free to contact me. But the real reason we're here today is to delve into IBM Cloud, because I'm really excited about this. IBM Cloud is probably the most underrated cloud. A lot of people don't know about its power and what you can do with it. So I'm going to just give two awesome examples which really highlight the power of IBM Cloud. And we're going to jump right in. One is to build your own chatbot with Watson. I'm going to show that to you. That's the first thing I'm going to show, so we can dive right in. And that requires no code, no programming. And the next thing is Db2 on Cloud. And I'm going to show you the Db2 on Cloud Light plan and how easy it is to get started there. So Scott, where do you want to take things from here?
Well, I already gave people the required gibberish, as you can hopefully see on my screen. And here's the agenda. I thought today that we would start with your presentation, and then I have news to share with our viewers, and we have a couple of polling questions. So at about half past the top of the hour, that's 11:30 Central, we want you to take a break, and I'll jump into these other things, and you can drink some of your favorite beverage, and then we'll put you back on the air after the break. Is that a good plan with you?
Sounds great to me.
All right, well, we have a plan. So this is the part where I click on your name and make you our presenter. And we're going to see if it works. Usually we test this beforehand, but I click on this, and you got a little window pops up, says show my screen. You can click that, and we'll see whatever's on your screen.
Great, sounds good. Hopefully everybody can see my screen now.
I can.
With Watson.
It's a beautiful screen.
Yeah, it is. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just start sort of at the beginning, which is what everybody would see, because I know there's some viewers who may not have used IBM Cloud in the past, and now we're going to build out super quick, free chatbot. And if you haven't signed up for IBM Cloud yet, I'm not going to go through that process because it's just so simple. Just do it. It's instant activation. You don't even require a credit card, unlike many of the other cloud providers out there. So just do it, and this is basically the first screen you're going to see. And then what I recommend is click Catalog, which we're doing right here. Okay. And now we're just going to click, what we're going to look for is Watson Assistant. Oh, you can just search Assistant, that'll do it too. So click Watson Assistant. And now, as you can see, we're at the Watson Assistant tile. Give it a moment to load. And we're going to choose the light plan. So IBM Cloud has these light plans, and light means that it's just free. And also, there's no overage. The reason there's no overage is because we don't want people to be afraid. You know, at IBM, back when I was there, we didn't want people to be afraid about accidentally going over, and then we bill them, you know, and then they become unhappy. You know, nobody likes surprise charges. So all the light plans, you don't have to worry about it. You can use it as much as you want, and it'll just stop you from using it. It won't accumulate any fees. So now I already have a light plan set up. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a quick step here, and normally you would hit create there, but in my case, I'm actually going to go to my existing plan. But you would end up here if you just click the create button.
Free is a great services. It's very popular with people.
Yeah, people love things that are free. But you'll see that a lot of the power, although this gives you a lot, and we're going to actually build out a really cool chatbot actually just for the sake of demo's sake. We're going to build it out for the DataView Show. Like, what would we want in a chatbot if we built one for the DataView Show? So, so one key thing here is this is what you're going to see after you click create. You're going to click Launch Watson Assistant.
I love this. What a great example. You know what the most popular question is? Where can I find the replays?
Oh, the replays. You know what? Actually, I figured that would be it. Now I'm actually going to delete this one. I had created a demo one because sometimes, because I use this account myself, sometimes it won't let me create a light plan because I'm over my quota. But let's call this DataView bot. Again, we haven't done any programming yet. It's going to be a helpful chatbot for the DataView Show.
So far, I'm very impressed.
Great. Now, yeah, I mean, I was too. When I used this, I was like, wow, how come nobody knows about this, right? It's one of the best kept secrets at IBM and maybe even in IT in general. So how do we get started? No coding, no nothing. What we're going to do is we're going to add a skill. This is a bit like an Alexa skill, okay? So we're just going to call this my first skill. And this is where it's a bit confusing. We have to actually go into this skill. So as you saw, I created a skill, then I click the skill. Oh, this is actually my old skill. I'm going to want to start with something fresh for everyone. But just to show, I mean, it's so easy to build up this bot. I built this, just in a 1-hour practice session yesterday, right? And as you can see, we're going to have a really cool chatbot. So this is going to be our end result. But let's go back here. I'm going to start this from the fresh. Start this fresh. Add integration. Remove skill. Remove. Awesome. Great skill. Let's call this the DataView skill. All right, we'll leave that blank. So we're just creating a new skill because we want, just think of that the same way if you have an Alexa, what that is, right? And now we're going to configure that skill by clicking it. Great. So here, now how does this chatbot work? How are we going to get it to respond? Well, the idea is that a lot of people will say intentions in a different way, right? So the first thing we want to do is create an intent. What's an intent? Let's take that example of somebody who wants to find replays, right? Now somebody might say, hey, where are your replays? Some people might just say, hey, where are the old episodes? Some people might say, are your episodes on YouTube? All of these things point to this, have the same intention. They want to watch old videos, but there's different ways of phrasing that intention. But to capture that overall intention of wanting to see old episodes or wanting to see replays, we're going to create one intent to capture all that text input. And we'll call this replays, keeping it simple, right? And let's just add a description so we can remember later what we're actually doing, like what, the purpose behind it. This is for
helping people find replays.
Helping people, perfect, find video replays. And we're going to create that intent. Right, and now we just are going to quickly type in some things that people would write. This is just super free form. So where are the replays? In fact, even if somebody just types in replays, we want to show them there. Now, what about old episodes, right? That's how I might write it. Or previous episodes. Reruns, right? Are your shows on YouTube, right?
Yes,
that's another way. Basically, you're looking for old shows. So all these things, and you could. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, they are.
Now you can, right. So we'll answer all this stuff kind of with the same answer, right? Which is to go to the link on your website with the old shows. But as you can see, we created a whole bunch. Now, if you have the plus, you could also go to show recommendations, and Watson can even sort of dream up other ways of phrasing it for you, but you don't have to do that. And you'll see that even without the recommendations, Watson does a pretty good job of just figuring stuff out. So we are done. We now have this intention replay, right? And now we're going to just go to dialogue, right? And dialogue is like, okay, how do we actually send that text to people, right? And then we're going to add a new node called replays. And we're going to say if it sees the intent replays, then we'll have text saying for replays, visit. Where was that DataView Show? Visit this link, which is your link. We're just going to pull up that link.
DataViewShow.com/news.
Right. Now, of course, for such a simple page, to be honest with you, actually, they may ask anyways. You'd be surprised. People don't like navigating a website anymore. They just want an instant answer. So we're going to go here, and then we're going to click here. So now we're going to try it. I just want to see what we show you what we built so far. So here's our bot. How can I help you? And we say, old. Let's see if it's Watson is smart enough. Let's just say old episodes. I've got to spell that right. Old episodes. And it says, oh, I forgot to. Sorry, this is my fault. Human error here. There we go. Now, if we just clear this, old episodes. Great. There you go. And as you can see, it has the link there. So I didn't even put in something that we actually put in. I'm not sure if we put old episodes in there, but we can have, it'll automatically respond. And And now let's think of a different way of phrasing it. What if I said, I'm looking for previous shows. Now, this is a real big test of Watson. Let's see how good it is. In my view, it actually might not interpret this as the right intent, but I'm going to give this a shot. Let's see if IBM Watson will take care of this for us. So actually, it did figure it out, right? Now, actually, I left this blank. I had to delete that. Just some human error here. But now if I clear, say I'm looking for previous shows, right? It'll send us there, right? So there you go. No matter how people phrase it, they can do it in free form. Watson does a great job without doing any code of interpreting this. Now I'm going to build up our chatbot a little more, but I sort of want to show everyone the full cycle. Again, how far are we into the show? 17 minutes plus intro. You literally can build a chatbot for your site or for your product, or even for a new service that you just created and you have an hour to sit down and get the FAQ going. You can do that real quick. But now I'm going to show you how you actually publish it, so that way you sort of see the full circle. So let's go back to the Assistance tab here. And then, do you see this integrations? We're going to click integrations, right? And for now, we're just going to go to the free options. Now, there is a way to just kind of natively embed that into your app. That's paid, but for the free light version, if you just want to test it, then you can actually just use this preview link, right? And we're going to call this DataView Chatbot.
So you're going to give me some code now, and we could actually put this on the DataView site.
Yeah, absolutely. You could literally now have just a link on your site saying, contact our chatbot, and I'm going to create a new incognito window, so that way we all know that there's no weird cookies. This site would link here. And there you go. Now, I want to say that this is pretty raw. I mean, I didn't configure any of the parameters. Anybody who knows a bit of HTML can make this look a bit more with their color scheme. But again, my goal is to sort of introduce you to how simple it is just to get that hard part started. So again, here it is. You could literally put a link on your site to this chatbot, and then people can just ask, where are old episodes, right? And that should send them the link right there. So there you go. You already have, it's only been, a matter of minutes, and you've got, functioning web chatbot. Now, one cool thing is, maybe I'll pause there and take a few questions, because now I want to show you how you can actually review these conversations that you've had with your customers, and thereby see what else they may be looking for. But are there any questions from the audience or from yourself, Scott, about what we've seen so far?
I'm checking the question queue, and it is currently empty. You've so thoroughly wowed our audience that they're speechless. And okay. I have no questions at this time, but I'm excited about what you're showing us.
Great, sounds good. So I'll continue, because now I want to show you the next part, which actually, when I built this Watson bot, this is actually probably the most useful part of Watson, which is the ability to actually see previous conversations. They're all recorded, right? So let me go here. If we can go to our DataView bot.
I do interact with a lot of the bots that I find on websites, and now that I know that people can actually review the interaction, I'm going to have to mind my language and my manners a little better.
Oh yeah, you know what? To be honest with you, I was actually also surprised at how easy. I mean, look, you just go to options and analytics here, right? I also realized that, and in fact, I deployed this bot. I've actually used this for a few things, just because it's just so simple. You can use it for a lot of cases, even if you just have a complicated event that you're throwing. You could come on here and set up a bot. But I used it internally at IBM. When I was at IBM, I used it to help deal with frequently asked questions, because you'd be pinged all the time, and people don't search; they just want an answer. So if they see me on Slack, they'll just ping me, right? So to avoid having to respond to the same questions over and over, if I wasn't there, then they could also use this chatbot, which would essentially answer a lot of their stuff. And I am telling you, some of the conversations, when people are talking to a bot, they don't think you're that you can see the conversations. So they will say very rude things. They will try to, let's just say, my chatbot was a popular sort of guy. I guess he impressed some people, and they tried to ask him some, sexually inappropriate things. And they did not know that obviously these conversations are actually recorded, right? So you can actually see the conversation here, right? And obviously we had a very, very brief conversation, but as you can imagine, you can review many conversations. But so one one advantage is that you do record those conversations, so you see what people are saying, what they're trying to get the chatbot to say. And this is also a warning for those who use chatbots. Sometimes we're all tempted to say something rude to a chatbot, or just the thought that, hey, it's a robot, so it doesn't have feelings. Well, the robot doesn't have feelings, but the guy who built the robot, which is me, does have feelings. So actually, sometimes, it won't work that well. Sometimes people would just phrase things in a way that Watson didn't understand, and then they'd get very frustrated or even swear at the chatbot. But the good news is that a well-designed chatbot, like the one that I built at IBM, the first thing it asks, and perhaps I can show how to do that. The first thing it asks is to get their email address, right? So that way, what I would do, and I recommend this is a great way to use a chatbot, is off the bat, ask somebody for their email address or phone number. That way, if they get frustrated with your chatbot while you're building it out initially, you can actually follow up. And that's what I did. It was a very good model. Somebody would ask a question, and perhaps the chatbot would give off gobbledygook, and then they would get frustrated. But then I could follow up and say, hey, sorry about that. Or, the chatbot, is in beta or had struggled to answer your questions. We've made improvements to it, and here's the answer to your question provided by a human. I'd love to connect with you and see what you need. So there's a lot of ways you can work with chatbot that will work for you. And as you can see, you can review old conversations, and you'd be very surprised. I mean, just by having this chatbot out there, for example, now that it was accessible to people in all time zones, I found that people in different time zones actually had unique questions, right? So, for example, there was a few people in Japan who wanted very specific questions answered about the product, and I may not have connected with them without a chatbot, because the world is so big. Sure, you get the big ones through the management. There is a manager for the Japan area, right? But when you connect directly to the people through the chatbots you can create with a Watson Assistant, whether you're running an IT shop as an IBM partner, or whether you're a big company selling retail goods, when you're able to connect to so many people and collect that feedback automatically in real time, then you can learn a lot about the real questions they're asking. So, for example, at IBM, I was able to just determine that, hey, there's certain data sheets and specifications that people in Japan really needed, right? Maybe that didn't bubble up to the management layer yet, but the boots on the ground, the individual sellers, needed more information from me. So it was actually great to discover that. And I'm sure if you build a chatbot, which I recommend you do, you'll discover a lot about your customers or stakeholders. And again, it doesn't have to be public. I'd say even if you have a big company, just internal use, you'll really be a lot more efficient. So that, I think, covers the basics. Now you might say, hey, we only have one intent here, but as you can see, it's just so simple to create one. You can have many of them. So maybe another one is schedule a meeting.
Show schedule.
Or or maybe display schedule. Schedule. And then display the show, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then again we'd say, when's your next show, right? We have when does the show start? And then people might just ask, what's your monthly schedule? Right, there's a lot of ways. We'll just start with these three. You can go back and add more. I can maybe even share this with you, Scott, if you want to go in that direction. And then again, we remember, this is one thing people often forget. First, you create the intent, then you create the dialogue, right? And we're going to add a note here, and we're going to call this display schedule, right? And then
what
intent.
What is entities between intents and dialogue? What's entities?
Excellent question. Let's just finish this one up, and then I'll show you. So here, in terms of the news and replays, where do we find the schedule here? Will it always be on the home page?
Yes, sir.
Or where will we have?
It's right on the home.
So here we can just say, you know, say scroll down on our homepage for the latest schedule. Now, keep in mind, you can go and actually add code that will display the schedule. And it's actually really easy to do that. It's a matter of clicks. You just have to use like the plus and then use something called Watson Discovery. And then, you know, if you just upload it, an Excel file, you know, or any sort of Word document that has the word schedule in it, Watson will intelligently say, hey, I found a document that will help you, and send them that PDF or Word document schedule. But for now, again, we're you know, for the purpose of this, let's build something real with the tools we have. So we'll do that. Now, the next question, and this was a question that I kind of struggled with in terms of Watson, is what are these entities, right? So they kind of explain it here. You know, so the entities are nouns or keywords. It's a business term. So an entity can be, trying to explain it, but an entity can be like the person who's chatting can be an entity, right? The date can be an entity. It's almost a way of identifying an object in the chat, right? Because often you'll be talking about something. Maybe you'll be talking about a contract. Maybe you'll be talking about an episode of the DataView Show in particular, right? Like, however it is, you should think of it almost like a pointer to an object, right? So, for example, just this kind of helps explain it. There's some system entities which are just baked right into Watson Assistant. For example, sysperson, that's talking about the person who you're speaking to over the chat, right? So you can get their name. Their location is an entity. The sys date is sort of like a mention of a date, right? And then percentage, that basically assumes that there's sort of, my understanding of this, I haven't used it that much yet, but this basically lets you extract numbers so that way you can use it, right? So if somebody says, you know, hey, my app is hanging and it's 50, it keeps saying that it's 7% done, right? Then you can actually find with this entity, it'll extract 7, right? And then you can use that 7 to do all sorts of things, like saying, sorry, it's 7% done, but the whole process typically takes at least 25 minutes. Or as you get more complicated, there's a really easy way to back end this stuff. And maybe you could even, you know, check on, you know, if you, with more code, if you're building an app and it's 7% done and somebody says, hey, it's 7% done or 25% done, you could then actually, you know, go to their account, check the status on the back end, and perhaps do some diagnosis, right, or escalate. So that's basically entities. They're a little bit harder to grasp than intents, but they're extremely useful. And then you can create your own. Again, maybe you are talking about, in this case of the DataView Show, episodes, right? There's a lot you could do with that. Maybe download them, get a link to them, you know, send a message about them, right? Or maybe this can just be a booking system to build the next episode, right? So if somebody comes on, then you can have the chatbot actually totally customize and prepare them for the next episode, right? And that's what entities are. We can give a quick example where we sort of capture somebody's name, right? So if we add a node, oh, you know, let's do this. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, did we not load up those entities? Just a moment. Let's load up some entities. So let's load up the entity that lets you just get your name. Now, obviously these are all off, and the reason you might want them off is as your chatbot gets more complicated, you'll see that the likelihood of a false positive increases. So you don't necessarily want to create more variables that could potentially confuse the Watson engine. So let's do that. And dialog, let's add a node. Entity, this person. Right, so let's say hi there. Personally. Right, so we're going to have something here where we personally greet the user, right? And also here we're going to say, how can I help? What's your name? So as you can see, we're sort of building this up so that first we ask for their name and then we ask, how can I help you, right? Now, by the way, I just want to mention quickly that you might not want to do this. I find a lot of chats, people just want to ask their question. They don't want to give their name or their email or whatever it is. They just want to jump right in. But this is sort of more of an example of how you can grab somebody's name. So here it says, again, now it's different. What's your name? So my name is Simon, right? So now it recognized Simon as a common answer for a name. You know, Watson said, hey, okay, like this seems to be a common name, and therefore I'm identifying that this is the name. And then it triggers the personal greet the user, which is, hi there, Simon, how can I help you? And then, you know, we can say, what, you know, what's the schedule? Right, and then again, it gives that message, right? Now, this is really basic. I mean, keep in mind, you could have hundreds or thousands of intents. Also, as you dig into the different options, you can sort of have conditional responses. You can move people from one place to another. I haven't even gone into how you integrate APIs, but as you can guess, based on the simplicity of this system, everything in Watson Assistant is just dead simple. Like it's really a pleasure to work with. And of course, and I'm going to pause there and, you know, send it back to you, Scott, because we're about halfway through the show now, about 12:33, and I also want to show the DB2 Lite side as another example of how IBM Cloud, you know, really has some great things going for it. So maybe I'll pause, take some questions from you and any questions in the audience.
Yeah, I'll do my midpoint break stuff, and then there are questions in the question queue. We'll circle back to those.
Sounds good. So we'll break before questions?
Yep, I'm going to show my screen right now. There it goes, your handsome face again. I want to invite people to participate in the 2020 State of the DB2 Universe study. Do you or your organization work with DB2 on ZOS or LUW? Please participate in our second annual study on the use of DB2. And there's a long Survey Monkey link right there. If I hover over it, you can see it. But what people can remember is bit.ly, bit.ly, 2020 DB2 study, and I should put that in the chat. You could win one of 5 $50 Amazon.com gift cards or a badge to iDoug in Dallas. And if you hate winning, you can also opt out of winning because some people aren't allowed to win, and that's fine. Everybody's opinion is important on this. We had several hundred participants last year and hope to have several hundred more participants in the study this year. And I'll try to remember to put that in the chat so people can just click on it. Upcoming shows on the 5th of March, we've got Protecting Sensitive Data with Guardium, and our guest will be Tim Tate. He's actually a real live IBM customer user of Guardium. He's not an IBM person. He's a real user, and he's got a lot of advice on best practices and tips and things for how he uses Guardium in his organization. And on the 19th of March, we've got a show about the IBM Think Conference, and there's a new data science hackathon that IBM is going to be running. And so you want to learn about that. I've heard that they've got over $8,000 worth of prize money up for grabs on that hackathon. URLs to visit. I want to make sure everybody is getting involved with the IBM community. Go to community.ibm.com. If you go to IBM USEN Marketplace DB2 Augmented Data Explorer, you can download the free new UI tool. This Explorer thing helps you discover things about your DB2 data that you might not have known. DB2 samples are now on GitHub. You can try out the new DB2 console, which is the replacement successor product to Data Server Manager. Go there, ibm.biz, DB2 console. My friend Stuart Littell, He wants everybody to remember that Informix is still alive and doing well and running billions of transactions around the world. You can learn about Informix news and events by going to iiug.org. IDUG, one of my favorite conferences. I've been to every IDUG conference ever held since 1988 and a speaker at IDUG every year since 1996. It's in Dallas this year, June 4th through 7th, I think. And if you register early, you can save on the registration fee. And something kind of related to what Simon is talking about today, this Cloud Watson Studio Auto AI, really cool tool. You just give it your data and it tells you things about your data that you didn't know. And you can try it there for free as well. Polling questions. Let me ask a polling question. How did you hear about today's show? This is where we check in with the audience, Simon, and make sure everybody's awake. And there we go. We got people are responding. We like to see 80% or more of our good-looking audience provide their opinion on our questions, or 30 seconds, whichever comes first. This is the only question I'm asking today, besides the one at the end. Did you learn anything today? That'll come later. Going once, going twice. Wiggle your mice, my dear friends in the audience. Closing the poll and sharing the results. So we've got some people on Twitter. Looks like 56% from our newsletter, which is great. Spent a lot of money on Constant Contact to get the word out about the shows. We've got the DataView Show homepage coming in there, and the IBM community at 25%. So that's good to know. Looks like the newsletter, in the case of this show, was most relevant.
Yeah, it looks like the IBM community did pretty well too there.
Yeah, I'm very excited. We've got a big audience today. A lot of good-looking people out there in the real world. And what do we have here next? Questions. There are some questions, and I'm going to make you the presenter again. Rajesh asked, can we have these conversations recorded, and could they be used for training in the future? I think you already answered that, and yes, they are recorded, and hopefully if people are looking at the interactions, they will learn from them. If you want to elaborate on my answer.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I'll add to that is that not only do you get to see just the individual conversations, but you can you see my screen? I guess I can show later, but you can also filter on
right now.
Great. Okay, great. So just to elaborate also, there's quick filters, so you can quickly see, okay, like, it's what about all the people who had the intention of looking for a replay, or what about all the people who are affiliated with an entity, which can be, an account or who knows what. So yeah, you can drill down, and also you can analyze this in some other ways. There's more advanced analytics, although I have not delved into them, and of course you can import them into DB2 or DB2 Warehouse, and analyze them there as well. So very simple for both the simpler reviews to more complex analytics. You can do it all in terms of this. Although you have to, with the free version, there's some limitations in terms of that. But you still, with the free version, can review all your conversations.
Okay. Where do you add the HTML code to improve appearance?
Perfect. Great question. I will show that right now. Now, here's the thing. I have learned a lot of this from just building it myself. Maybe there's an official doc, but I find that they actually seem to suggest inputting the HTML right in here. So I can, for example, do this. Now, for those who don't know HTML, don't be scared. I'm just creating an anchor link. But you can actually embed it right into the responses, which I love because, why create more, yak shaving, right? So So for those who don't know HTML, just what I've done here is just created an anchor link that will go here, and then put that here. And then if you see, I'm just going to test the bot. I have to click out and clear, and say replays. You should understand that. For replays, visit this page, replays. So as you can see, I just embedded HTML right there. And I've also taken away my development screen. I should have opened it in a new tab. So it's super, super simple to just put HTML in there. Another thing I want to point out is there's an option. Unfortunately, my screen is loading since I clicked away. But you see that there's an option in terms of the response type. There is regular, and then there's also something called multi-line. Just a heads up there that often you'll want multi-line. I'm trying to see where we can write multi-line, right? And the only reason I say that is here, if it's not multi-line, then you like, how do I say this? If you're using HTML, you don't have to use multi-line. But if you just have a long text response, I highly recommend you use multi-line, because then you can have multiple lines in your response. So you can have, line 1 and line 2, right? So I hope that explains a bit more in terms of how you can make your responses pretty. You can either use HTML, and then you can use all sorts of tags to create your new lines, or to embed a table, or to embed any HTML you'd like. Or if you're just looking and saying, hey, Simon, like I need a bit more formatting to have a multi-line response, you can just click multi-line, and that will give you an easier way to do that as well.
If the user had a typo, like they typed SHCEDUL instead of schedule, will Watson figure it out and display the results?
So I'll talk about my experience. I'm sure the official IBM answer is it'll figure it out. In my experience, it depends on how bad the typo is, right? So a small typo, it tends to find it. We can even, try this now, right? Let's try, let's if we ask, where are the replays? Well, let's try our plays, right? Like I have a sticky E on my keyboard since it's such a common letter, right? And here it did find it out, replays, right? And you see it actually does have some built-in spell check, right? Is it perfect? No, but it'll catch, probably 25%, and especially the worst ones. I think everyone's mileage will vary, depending on their chatbot. If it's answering simple questions about replays, it'll have a pretty good rate. If you're answering really tough technical questions about, a printer that you're selling, then because the dialogue will be more technical, I would say that you're going to get more missed spell checks. I hope that helps. Does that help? Any follow-ups to that question?
There's another question from Rajesh. When the user has pinged the chatbot, has he already provided all his information like email, address, phone, etc., so the chatbot has all the information in advance, so there's no need to ask for the email address again? I think he's talking about integration.
Right, good question. Yeah, so you can, I didn't show that in this basic demo, but you can integrate that into your chatbots, right? If somebody is already logged in, then part of that would be like when somebody logs in, you'll also log them into that chat session, right? That requires a bit of coding, which I won't show here. I'm sure that I think it is covered in the docs, and I will actually show you where the docs are, just so you can get there.
All right, and you were going to tell us about.
But yeah, you can do that for sure. Yeah.
You were going to tell us about IBM Cloud today. That's the other mission for your show.
Yeah, well, this is all IBM Cloud, right? Like Watson Assistant, you'll see it's, but I want to cover another light service on IBM Cloud, and that's DB2 on Cloud. But for Watson Assistant, I just want to show here, it's a bit easy to miss, but you see docs and API docs. And if you look there, you'll see you can kind of preload the assistant with, a user's logged in information and do all sorts of good stuff.
Can you take that URL where you are right now and copy it, paste it into the chat for people?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Send it to all, entire audience.
Trying to get this chat.
It's the
It's not giving me that.
It's the GoToWebinar tool, right? You might have.
I see that, but right now, unfortunately, it's giving me the option only to give it to organizers or organizers and panelists. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to post it here, and then you can repost it. It seems maybe I need extra access to chat with the participants.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. Well, I'll take that, and I will send it to everybody because I'm all powerful.
Awesome.
Okay.
Cool. Okay.
Now.
Oh, great. Yeah, I see. You just copied that into everyone.
Yep. Good. All right. Tell us about IBM Cloud.
So, well, IBM Cloud, I want to show just two services that I found useful on IBM Cloud. So in terms of the whole IBM Cloud experience, the one thing I'd recommend is experiment, right? The way I found a Watson Assistant was by experimenting. Now, there's some services I would definitely recommend you experiment with more. And the key is look at the light services, because those are free. You can use them for learning, and there's never any cost to use them, right? So if we search, in fact, I think the easiest way of doing that is if we search light. I believe that then we will get all the light services, right? So there's API Connect, API Gateway, App Connect. CloudInt is a good one. It's a NoSQL database, and of course DB2. And I'll dive into DB2 because I think that's a lot of people who are here are either new to the DB2 community or probably want a way to just try it out. It's just as easy as Watson Assistant, as you'll see. Discovery is for automatically searching documents, and quite a few. So as you can see with what's available here, you can basically create quite a lot, right? Now if you, just so you know, I mean, if you want to actually build an app, then as you know, with IBM's acquisition of Red Hat, we're very container friendly. And while it didn't show up here, I want to make sure people know about it, but there is a container service, and I'm quite certain, unless they changed it since I left, that it is still free. Container registry, Kubernetes. Let's try that. I think that's just the registry. Compute. Okay, I bet it's under compute. Great. So Kubernetes service, there it is. So it looks like there isn't a light offering right now. Oh, there is. There's free. So I guess that it might not be officially part of the light program. But as you can see, I'm not going to cover it in this show because Kubernetes is its own bag of beans, and I said I'd cover Watson Assistant and DB2. But I do want to talk about the fact that I'm sure a lot of people on the call, either you're already working with Kubernetes and hey, who can use an extra Kubernetes, container, or you're curious about it, right? You want to just try, containers. Now, obviously, I'd say that Docker, if you ever use Docker, Docker is getting easier and easier to use, and just downloading Docker on your PC would be a great way to start. But another great way to start, especially in terms of putting it all in the cloud, is IBM Cloud Kubernetes service. And I think we were one of the first, if not the first, to have a truly native on-cloud Kubernetes service, at IBM. And so I would definitely recommend giving that a shot. So now, without further ado, I think I'm going to go to the DB2 part, unless there's questions from the audience or from you, Scott.
No questions at this time.
Okay, great. So let's jump in. First thing I want to do is I want to show you start to finish in terms of launching DB2, and that means I have to go to my dashboard. And check out this resource list. Bear with me just a moment. Now, one thing that you may hit as you can experiment with IBM Cloud is they only allow, for the light plan, until you enter a credit card, you're only allowed one, I think up to 3 different light services, and I believe you may have one of each type, right? Now, I would recommend entering a credit card. It doesn't mean you have to pay for anything, but once you get out of sort of the free locked down version of IBM Cloud, it lets you create, more light plans and so forth. So I just wanted to show you that you can delete your light plans there if ever you have old ones. Often you use them for even debugging and that sort of thing. Great. So now we're going to search for DB2, and then what's going to come up here, of course, the DB2 service. Right now you see DB2 hosted here, DB2 warehouse. Just a quick intro for those who are unaware. DB2 hosted is sort of like, it's not managed for you. It's just DB2 installed on a virtual machine in a optimized configuration, which IBM DB2 system engineers have worked out. So if you're just kind of lifting and shifting an app to the cloud, then DB2 hosted might be for you because you have full root access, but you're not getting all of the awesome management of DB2 on cloud or DB2 warehouse on cloud. So DB2 is what you're normally going to use. That's a fully managed service. And then DB2 warehouse, that's just warehouse optimized DB2. So that means it's really going to be optimized to crunch massive amounts of data. It'll have a blue acceleration, and it's actually, if you want, we have small plans, but you can also get like an MPP cluster. All that just deploys with a few clicks. So, but today we're just going to look through the standard DB2. Right. For those who are a bit unfamiliar with, hey, what is a warehouse? I know some developers are like, hey, like, do I really need a warehouse? What's the difference between a warehouse database and a regular database? And no matter what cloud you're using, whether it's us or whether it's IBM Cloud or a competitor like Amazon or Microsoft's cloud, then in all cloud providers have the standard database, and then they have the warehouse version. And that warehouse version is optimized to store a huge ton of data and analyze it quickly. The downside of the warehouse versions, generally speaking, is that the uptime SLAs are across the board a little bit less, because these warehouses are really designed to be huge honking things, and you don't want that same level of redundancy. That's going to double your storage cost, right? So all the providers figure that these aren't, while the uptimes are high across the board, they'll be a little less high for warehousing. And also, if you will have a whole bunch of tiny little queries, like you're doing like 100,000 tiny little queries per second, then the warehousing across the board won't be quite as zippy as the standard databases, right? The standard databases are designed for transactions, right? Like web workloads where you have 100,000 users logging in and doing a small transaction at once. Warehousing traditionally is designed for very big queries that would take a traditional database hours or days, can be done in minutes or seconds. However, the downside to warehousing is that it's really purpose-built for that problem, right? It's purpose-built to solve these very large, complex queries, and therefore, less attention is given to quick responsiveness for very, very small queries.
So
now, it doesn't matter if
the warehousing focused on blue column organized tables or DPF or both?
It's blue. So the warehouse is blue column organized tables. Yeah. But I should say that, at a regular level, if you're only doing 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 transactions a second, they're both going to be pretty fast. But of course, IBM customers, they really push hard on what we give them. So, when you get to those higher levels, you'll have to choose, are you going to be more of a warehousing workload where you're doing large amounts of analysis on many terabytes of data, or are you sort of just a small web app where you have to quickly respond to thousands of people?
Okay.
Okay, so if ever in doubt, if you're just building an app, I'd say DB2 is the best way to go. As you see, we have a light plan, and for those who are familiar with deploying DB2, you're probably ready for a 30-minute sit-down session if you're doing this, building something just from scratch. But here we're going to click create, and it's just going to create that for you right away. So we've just created a new database that we can use with a web app, maybe a container that we deploy on Kubernetes, right? And now we're going to click manage, right? And under manage, you see this handy dandy option, which is open console. So in order to make things easy to work with, the database, we have IBM put everything in here, right? So basically, everything that you need to get started as a developer is right here, and you can just sort of jump right in. So I wonder if we can do a poll. Can we do a poll on the call? I'm curious how many people on the call are sort of DB2 natives versus, you know, MySQL or Postgres. Do you think, Scott, we can do a poll on the call right now in terms of how many people, you know, use DB2 as their primary database? Or are those polls tricky to do?
Well, they need to be set up in advance before the webinar begins.
Okay, because I thought that was a great trick you did there. So that's fine. So for those who are new to DB2, again, it's just super simple. Once you get into this console, you have a whole bunch of tools. You can load data, and I'll show that. You can run SQL. You can just explore your tables. There's also a lot of monitoring, right? So you can get a summary of connections, even see in-flight executions to see who's using it, right? And a total list of connections, etc. So you don't have to, there's no desktop tools to install or complex cloud configurations anymore. All that is sort of automated or optimized for you. So let's start with the most basic thing, which is to load data. So we're just going to load data here. And then I'm going to get some stuff here.
Oh, I can upload an Excel spreadsheet. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I think it's CSV. So what I did is there's actually a lot of free data sets out there. I got this one, which was interesting. It's just a list of animal bytes, right? And you can find stuff on Kaggle, some very simple data sets. This is about 9,000 rows. So I just drag and drop that in. You can also load from Amazon S3, from IBM's Cloud Object Storage, and click Next. Now, in terms of a schema, you can, I'm just going to select the schema that I had created here, which is this. And in terms of the table, for those who don't know what a schema is, maybe you come from like the MySQL world. A schema is simply a collection of tables. So in some databases like MySQL, a database and a schema are the same thing. If you create a new database, you're creating sort of a schema. But in DB2 and some other kind of enterprise databases, which allow a more granular level of organization, you have your database instance, right, which is like the database server. Then you have your database, right? And then inside a database, you have multiple schemas. And then a schema is just a collection of tables. So in that schema, you'll have a whole bunch of tables. So in the free version, you can only use one schema, right? But we're going to create a new table here. I'm going to call it, my table. Just keep it simple. And then that's it. We're going to choose that table and click Next. Oh, sorry, I had a bit of a fast finger there. So now after that, what IBM does is they give us a preview, right? And this is super simple because now we know that everything is matched. So it does some intelligence here. For example, it automatically found the date stamp, right? And this actually is interesting. I mean, this is just a preview, but you see there's a lot all the way from 1985 and 1990, and you see, what's the species, and it looks like IBM even seems to limit the varchar to the maximum size it found in the data. That's quite interesting, I guess. And then various other things. So you see that the varchars are already optimized for you. It found ranges for integers for small int. Now, if this works with a larger data set, I think you're gonna have to tweak it more. You can definitely tweak these by editing them, right? But the bottom line is that especially if you're getting started quickly, or if you want to quickly move to the cloud just to sort of get an idea, hey, how quickly can I move this app to the cloud? It's a super, super useful tool. So we're going to click Next, and then we're going to click Begin Load. And now everything is uploading to the table, as you can see from the progress bar here. And let's just give this some time to complete. Now, another thing I want to mention is IBM also has an option called Aspera. And IBM Aspera, you may have seen the option to click it at the upload screen. That will let you use basically this very fast way of uploading called IBM Aspera, and it compresses your data before, like kind of through the wire, and uses sort of some fancy magic to make your data transmit very quickly. So you can use Aspera if you have like a 1 terabyte data set, and that will definitely cut down on the amount of time to transfer it.
This is pretty cool.
Yep, it's doing all this stuff. Now, keep in mind also I'm on the free tier. I would imagine that on the paid plans, you have dedicated resources, and this would probably go a lot faster. The free tier for DB2 on cloud is actually like a multi-tenant shared machine. So let's just give it some time to finish this up. This is a good time to take questions. Are there any questions listed so far?
No new questions since your chatbot demo.
Great. Okay. So let's now. Okay. So we have all these rows loaded in. We can just view the table.
Rajesh wants to know, how do we connect to an existing database? Is there a Unix terminal we can open from here? So there's your command line guy, Rajesh. He wants to secure shell to his PuTTY, to his DB2 database.
Right. So I think the big question is, what exactly do you want to do? Because so yes. So the answer is you can connect to this database using the DB2 CLI. So on your Ubuntu or Linux box, right, or your desktop, you just connect to this using the standard DB2 command line, and you have all the features. Like you can operate it like from your own command line and import, export, etc. So it's not just this pretty interface. You get the traditional DB2 tools, and all the DB2 tools work with this, like the newly released data. I think they call it. They have a new name for the data server manager. I can't recall what it is. But I took a quick look at that. You mentioned it in your last show, and it looks really cool, and I can vouch for that working for DB2 on cloud.
There's
so
the DB2 console is new,
yes,
and there's that augmented data explorer.
right. So all those tools work with DB2 on cloud, I believe, right? So you can take your existing stack, DB2 stack, and sort of just take out the on-premises one that's not managed and put it in the cloud one. However, there are things like latency you'll need to worry about. In terms of actually getting a secure shell, I will mention that we also support federation, so you can also go and set up federation on this, so you can connect, or data virtualization, and connect outbound to your database to pull in tables. If you really, really need a secure shell from the on-cloud system, the DB2 on-cloud system I'm showing you, your option right now is to use DB2 hosted, right? Which means it's not managed, but you have full root access, because here again, it's a fully managed service, and whether it's IBM or Microsoft or Amazon RDS, you're not going to actually have root access to the system. It's sort of locked down and managed by IBM staff, right? So you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that SSH act.
Okay. We're at the top of the hour now, actually a little bit past it. I'll give you another minute to show us anything else you'd like to share, and then we need to wrap up. And are you still there? Your audio was getting choppy there at the end, like your internet connection was going bad.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You're back.
Okay. So just maybe a follow-up on what he wanted to do, like what he was trying to achieve, and I could give a bit more insights.
Yeah, well, now we have all this beautiful data in a table. We can query it now, probably. Run SQL.
Right. So then just run a SQL. We're a little bit past the hour, so I'll end with this. And then again, with run SQL, you can just click blank here to create a blank script. We also have a library of scripts. I'm just going to create my own. Just give it a moment to load.
I'd like to see the distribution of animals in the study. How many dogs, how many cats, how many snakes?
You'd have to give me more time if you wanted that one. But you're free to do it yourself. You can find the data set on Kaggle. I actually have the link for that. So it's here. I'll share that. You might need to do that resharing again, but there it is. And then you can just do select select star. Oh, I'll cheat and just use my pre-cut one. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably meant to type select. There we go.
Yep, it looks like it looks like I just have a slow response on my keyboard here. But I think that we're a bit past time. So here you go.
What is the URL that people should go to get started with this IBM Cloud?
Right, so I go to cloud.ibm.com, which hopefully you can see here, and then you can get started. And again, activation is instant. You can get your chatbot or database up in probably under 20 minutes, start to finish, and probably even get a lot of progress in 5 minutes. So that's a tour of 2 really powerful ways to use IBM Cloud, and I hope that opens people's minds and eyes to the fact that IBM Cloud is really powerful. There's a lot you can do with it. Just as a developer, or even somebody who isn't a developer, you can really get a lot of goodies from IBM Cloud. And this is just really scratching the surface, but I think those are 2 of the most powerful tools available on IBM Cloud today.
That's really cool. Excellent presentation today. And what was really nice, it wasn't a lot of slides. I mean, you just jumped right in and showed us how stuff works. And
yep, that's
Rajesh and others are saying thank you. So you're getting kudos from the audience. That's cool. And so the question we always ask at the end is, did you learn anything today? Let me pull up that polling question. Try to get some response from our really good-looking audience. And while people are participating in that poll, I want to thank our audience for being here, because having humans in the audience makes it a lot more fun for presenters. And it's great to see you here. Being in our audience is the only way you get that certificate of completion for participating in the webinars. And it's also the only way you can ask our guests questions, is by actually being here. Now, we do love our replay viewers as well. Simon, thank you very much for taking the time today to share your knowledge about the chatbots and the Db2 on cloud. That's really great of you to make this time available for all of us. And thank you to the show sponsors. The DataView Show is sponsored by the IBM community. You can find it at community.ibm.com or ibm.com/community. You have 2 ways to win. If you don't have an account there yet, hurry on over and get yourself an account and start learning. And replays and show news. Just go to dataviewshow.com/news. Closing the poll and sharing the results.
all right. Let's see it. Oh, wow.
Did you see it?
Okay.
100%
Yeah,
of our
100%.
beautiful audience learned something from you today.
Oh, so thanks for having me on the show. And I think, every time I use IBM Cloud, I tend to learn something too. So super happy to be here and help out. Again, if anybody's interested in, getting involved in Levy and Partners, then you can reach out. And, I hope everybody learns something new. And I'd say, keep hacking away, keep exploring, and good things will come.
Yeah, and Ricardo just chimed in. Thanks a lot. Very good presentation. So you're getting a standing ovation from our audience. It's very good. Put our
Great, thank you.
Show music on. Wish everybody a great day. Hope you have a fun afternoon if you're in U.S. time zones. Hope everybody has a great weekend. And we'll see you in the next show. That's going to be on Guardium with real user experiences. Check the show schedule. Thanks all. Bye-bye.